if you are a kids pastor or any other, let's say, non-senior leader, and you find yourself questioning, what should I do and how do I stay in alignment with my leader? Evaluate the kind of questions you're asking, because the friction and frustration can exist when I think I'm being empowered, but I've really just been delegated to. I think the opposite of empowerment is actually delegation. If I'm delegating to someone, I'm really not releasing authority or power. I'm saying, hey, I need you to do these tasks.
Yep.
And the questions that come back to me as a leader, very detailed related questions. In an empowering environment, the questions shouldn't be that kind of detailed questions. They're questions of, okay, so what's the vision? What are my restrictions? And what's my...
Hey everyone, welcome to the Amazing Kidsmen podcast. We're so glad that you're joining in. And today is really special because we have someone who, there's a long list of ways to introduce this person. He's led a staff of, well, at one point it was close to 1,000 people, built incredible organization systems and processes, been an executive pastor, but he's also, are you the CEO of ELI? Yeah, CEO of Executive Leadership Institute, and he runs that and helping executive leaders around the country and around the world become better leaders and how to engage their people in a great way. But also, he is one of the board members for us at Amazing Life. So he's very bored. He has nothing going on in his life.
Right, exactly.
So that he had time to come hang out with us today because he just wanted more things to do. So
Exactly.
please welcome Todd Lane to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're going to insert like applause.
Applause,
and stuff for
okay,
you.
great. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Awesome to be with you. Excited to talk. I love talking all things leadership, all things church.
Yep.
And really whatever else you want to talk about.
Okay, cool. We've got a long list.
Okay.
You, and a lot of our listeners, like it's people who are, either vocational, like full-time vocational, like pastors, and then some people who also are just like they volunteer or they're part-time or, they're working this full-time job and then trying to, make it work for their church. And it's so everything in between. But there's very few people who I think for me and my wife, Connie, that we've been impacted by both personally and professionally. And that's because we got to sit under like incredible leadership for a long time. And like there was a beautiful, intentional, healthy culture that you tried to foster. It wasn't just you having to, you were pulling the lever here and doing the lever here. You built a team and you led a team that led people that led people. Like it really was the Moses thing where you're going to oversee this and you're going to oversee this many and you're going to, but you had like a structure. And it was like, it's almost, I don't know, it's as close as you can get to like a utopic, like it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect.
Like, wow, you're building this up.
I know. Yeah. It wasn't perfect, but it was healthy. It wasn't perfect, but like you felt like you could be seen and you could be heard and you were valued and like you felt passionate about what you were doing. And that doesn't happen by mistake. Like that, and that took a lot of years. So like when did you become really passionate about leadership in general? Because a lot of people don't realize that's an intentional like skill that you have to grow.
Great question. So, first off, I had the opportunity to come behind other leaders who had been a part of growing organizations and building healthy leadership. The number one influence in my life is my dad. And he got to really grow two churches in big organizations and healthy organizations. And so I have to say that the opportunity I had to come behind people who really had built a wonderful organization, and I got to add to that. So my main influence obviously was my dad, but I became interested. My family, my dad and I are kind of now two generations in ministry, but really my family was business guys. Both grandfathers were businessmen, different kinds of businesses. My dad was before he got into ministry. I went to business school. And I always had a heart for ministry. I remember when I was 16, answering your question about leadership, when did I get interested in leadership? At 16, I had this desire that I wanted to be in business, wanted to be the president of a company. And had no idea what company that was going to be, had no idea what exactly I wanted to do. I was a kid in church, so ministry was always going to be part of what I did. But I also knew I wanted to be in business because I liked leadership. Even at a 16-year-old, I remember one guy in particular, a guy named Paul Tagliabue. Okay, any old person will remember this guy.
You don't forget that name.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, he was the commissioner of the NFL, and then they like plucked him out, and he went to like run the Olympics in some given year, and then they plucked him out and go do. And I remember looking at this guy going, how could he just kind of plop to different industries or. And really what it was just leadership. He was a good leader, and so he could go. So I remember observing that and going, how do you become that kind of person? That really what you lead is agnostic.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what you lead. You're a leader. And so you can plop into any industry because leadership's required everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that was my desire. I went to business school, got a degree in finance, got into the corporate marketplace and learned leadership, learned what I didn't like about leadership, had a great training just in my own home and what I just happened to be around as a young, developing, adolescent and saw leadership, and then got into organization, saw some good leaders, saw a lot of bad leaders, and that was forming what I desired in leadership. And so I had an opportunity. I'll just real quick, my segue into ministry. I was in a corporate job for about 7 years and had lots of opportunities to do some things. And I was leading part of the organization at the time. And my boss came in to tell me, maybe give me some coaching about my leadership. And she came in and said, hey, I'm watching how you're meeting with people. Because I was leading a large team. And so I met with people a lot. So she came in and said, I see how you're meeting with people. I want to give you some coaching. I said, okay, great. She said, you're spending too much time with them. You need to tell them what to do and then send them out. And you're spending too much time kind of listening and processing with them. I mean, this is a conversation she's having.
It was like a real coaching moment.
This was her coaching to me.
Okay, got it.
And, by this point, I was still a young leader. I was in my maybe late 20s, but I had 7 years of experience. I was like, huh. And I remember going back and I was praying and just going, okay, Lord, what do I do with this feedback? And really, it was in that moment I felt like the Lord said, you're pastoring those people, and I'm calling you to pastor. And that began a journey for me to get out of the corporate world, get into ministry, and begin to apply what I had learned in leadership and learn how to bring that into the church. And I don't know that certainly every pastor is necessarily a leader.
Yeah.
But I believe my view is every leader is a pastor. Now, they may not be in vocational ministry. They might not even be Christians.
Yeah.
But I think good leadership looks like pastoring.
Wow.
And that's my approach. And so how I applied that as a leader was people first, people before projects, people before even systems. If I'm going to build a system, I want to know first about the people. I want to know about the people that I have on the team. I want to know how to get the best out of those people. And then you might tweak systems based on the people you have. And you might have a view of like, hey, there's a certain way I know I want this organization to run. I got to build a system around it. But you know what? You don't have the right people yet. So build a system around the people you have. Maybe continue to look, how do I either upskill or bring in new people, and then refine your systems based on that. So it's a long, meandering answer to your question of leadership and how I got interested in it.
That's awesome. I think for a lot of people, especially my generation, we hear leadership a lot, but we don't understand that it's a very intentional decision that you make. Like you said, I have experience. I think a lot of us have. Not every pastor is a leader or a good leader, and that's not a dig. It's just people have different strengths, different skill sets. Right. But there is an intentional, costly decision to be made on what kind of leader you're going to be.
Yeah.
And I think what I learned when I got to sit under your leadership, and one of the best things that I learned, there was a lot, but I was at a kids pastors conference, like a children's pastors conference a couple weeks ago, over a month ago. And we have a booth and it's awesome. So we get people that get to come up and talk to us. And, you get everything. Just like a weekend. Sure. Yeah. It's like, I love this. Or like, this is a problem. I'm like, great. And it's awesome.
Tell me more.
Yeah, tell me, please. But I was in a conversation with this woman and she was probably closer to my age, like
Mm-hmm.
on when I say younger, I'm in my 30s, so I don't know if that's young or not, but
It's young compared to me,
yeah.
so I'll give you that.
I just like my filter for young keeps going up and up.
Right. Yeah. Hey, me too. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
weird
exactly.
when I
Yeah,
see
we're
us young
so
these
young.
days. Yeah.
Yeah. But she was like, "Can I ask you a question?" Like, and she begins to tell me a situation that she's in at her church. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, I've recognized this pattern where she keeps kind of hucking her leadership under the bus. And she's like, and it was
Yeah.
this like, and they don't understand, and I'm doing all this, and like, and after about 2 or 3 minutes, probably within that, like there was 4 or 5 just little comments made. And so I was like, hey, can I ask you like one quick question? Like, do you understand the mission or like the culture of the church you're at? And it wasn't like a degrading. I was like,
Yeah.
and she's like, yeah, this is da, 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 da. And I was like, so would you say that your ministry, do you think it aligns? And like she like paused and she's like, well, I don't know. I was like, I think that would be a really important question to ask.
Great question.
And I told her, like, I had gotten to be a part of stuff, and especially when you're a part of something that starts small and it continues to grow and grow and grow, and growth is great, but there's this thing that can happen to where you start making decisions, and just little misalignments, you can end up in your own little kingdom over here.
So true.
And then you have this chip on your shoulder where, and so this is what I find a lot with kids pastors, and I'd like your help, especially kids pastors, is because there's this kind of head down and got to get, like, Sunday's always coming. Sunday is always coming.
Yeah.
It's always coming.
Oh.
And you have systems and you have things and you have ways that you want to get things done. And just when you feel like you've got everything ready to go, then you get, a request down. Like, hey, we need to add this thing on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Or, hey, we've got to do this. Or, hey, we're going to add this extra, fill in the blank. And there's this like, they didn't ask me. They didn't talk to me. They don't understand. And there's sometimes this like us versus them mentality. And I'll never forget, there was this one time, I think we were trying to do something. I don't remember what. And so it was like, it's so obvious to us. Like, we've got to spend this amount of money. We're going to do this. Da, 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 da. And so it's like, here, let's send it up to Pastor Todd. And here's the plan. And you were so kind. And you read it. You're like, this is cool. And you said it so nicely. You said, this isn't a plan. This is just a proposal. Like, and it's great. Like, I see how much you want to spend and I see when we were going to spend it. But like, this is not a plan. Like, how is it going to affect our ministry? And what's the positive outcome for our families and our staff or our teams or our volunteers? And I was like, oh. And it was the first time you could have like, guys, you want us to spend X amount of, but you invited me into a place of like, hey, can you come up here and help me see? Like, I just want you to see it the way I see it really fast.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to ask you.
Yes.
Like, you've sat in a seat where you've led, like the whole church, but through different leadership and whatnot. And I think sometimes we can have this assumption, well, they know everything I know and they need to know it. How can we battle I feel misunderstood by my leadership. I feel misunderstood and they just don't get me. What do you look for when you're having people come to you and ask for specific needs or they're having a hard time? Like, what's that friction?
Yeah. Depending on where an organization is and its size and development will affect how I view it. So at a certain size, when maybe there's very little distance between the executive pastor or senior pastor and the children's pastor, and it's, not a bunch of layers of organizational design. It's like 3 people. Clearly there should be a lot less friction. It should be much clearer because there's really direct conversation. And so at a certain size, and maybe many leaders who are watching, churches that are watching, are at that place. Well, I would speak to that group and say, if you have a very thin organization from an org chart standpoint, there's not a lot of distance between senior leadership and where you are, then there should be very direct conversations happening about vision, what alignment looks like, and making room and space in schedules to have those kind of conversations, not assuming that everything that you do as a senior leader is caught by the rest of the team. There's conversations. There should be conversations. If I'm a kids pastor in that kind of environment and conversations are not happening, I would, with regularity, be asking simple questions to clarify, how empowered am I? And I've got we can do a whole separate podcast on the difference between empowerment and delegation. It's a topic I love. I think it's very misunderstood. A lot of people use those terms synonymously, delegation, empowerment. They're totally different. I think actually the opposite of empowerment. People may go, if you have empowerment, what's the opposite? Control. I think the opposite of empowerment is actually delegation, and people use them synonymously. So I'll say it in this way: it all depends on the kind of questions you ask. If I'm delegating to someone, I'm really not releasing authority or power. I'm saying, hey, I need you to do these tasks. Yep. And the questions that come back to me as a leader, if I've just delegated, are, okay, so what do you want me to do? How do you want me to do it? What's this going to look like? Very detailed related questions. In an empowering environment, the questions should still come back. If I've empowered somebody, the questions shouldn't be that kind of detailed questions. They're questions of, okay, so what's the vision? What are my restrictions? Yep. And what's my budget? And so I need vision, need to understand the vision. I need to understand the boundaries. Yep. And then I need to understand my resources. Yep. If I get that clarity, then I should be able to run. So if you are a kids pastor or any other, let's say non-senior leader, and you find yourself questioning, what should I do and how do I stay in alignment with my leader? Evaluate the kind of questions you're asking, because you might be in an environment that you really just delegated. And sometimes the friction and frustration can exist when I think I'm being empowered, but I've really just been delegated to. So again, there's much to unpack here. So I hope it's being clear the difference between the two, because my heart for people is, if you say you want an empowering environment, and so if I'm a senior leader and I'm telling a kids pastor, you're empowered to run children's ministry, and yet I get mad when they do this, and this, or they didn't come and ask me, can I do this? How do I do this? What do you want me to do here? Then really, as a senior leader, I'm just delegating. I am still wanting to maintain control. My view is, for an organization to function properly, for leaders to be properly developed, and growth to be able to happen, the way empowerment happens is for me as a senior leader to go, here's the vision for children's ministry. And then however you want to define that. Could be a very simple statement. Yep. Could be, but I want to give you a vision. And now with that vision, here's your budget. In other words, here are your resources. Here's the budget you have to do this. Your restrictions or your boundaries are whatever. Just don't do this or operate within this, whatever. Now take it and run. So if I'm now the kids minister on that side of it, looking to go, do I have clarity about that? Is the vision clear enough? Do I really understand the resources I have? And are the restrictions and the boundaries clear to me? If they are, then that's the alignment I need to make sure that I'm connected to the vision. And if I don't have that clarity, go back and ask in that sort of framework. I don't think the vision was quite clear. Can you explain the vision again? Or you told me about a budget, but are there other resources I have? In those three questions of framework, if you find yourself going back and going, okay, but what do you want me to do? You now don't want to be empowered. You only want to be delegated to, and you want someone else to be in control. Yep. And so to be in alignment, big picture questions are you empowered or are you delegated to? The questions you ask will help keep you in alignment. And really, once you get in an empowered environment, if you can answer those three questions, vision, resources, boundaries, and you get that understanding, you should be able to run and fly. You don't have to go meet with the executive or senior pastor, but every 6 months. Yeah. Because you got enough vision to run with it. Now, I have a lot of compassion, maybe that's the right word, for children's pastors, because, they're leading. In most churches, let's just say kids ministry is anywhere from 15 to 25% of the size of the congregation. You're leading a whole congregation.
You've got like a mini little congregation inside. Yeah,
exactly. It's a mini congregation, and so that's maybe very unique among anybody else on the staff.
True.
Church conference is happening April 28th through 30th in Dallas, Texas at Preston Trail Community Church. If you've ever been to Orange Conference, you know that the collaboration and the energy in the room is electric. We renamed Orange Conference to Church Conference because we wanted to expand the scope beyond just kids and student ministry. So this year, we're doing some incredible sessions and workshops for kids ministry leaders, student ministry leaders, and executive leaders. This is a whole ministry strategy designed to equip your church with the best tools, skills, resources, and relationships. We're also going to be dropping 2 major announcements that will literally literally change kids in student ministry forever. And that's not a joke or an embellishment. The next era of ministry starts here, and you definitely want to be in the room when that happens. There are a bunch of ticket options available. Individuals, group tickets, digital, and also an option to host remotely as a host site. Applications are open to serve on volunteer teams, and that comes with its own set of perks. You can get tickets now or apply to serve at achurchconference.com. Now, back to the podcast.
I think having the level of clarity that they need to run that mini congregation is super important, very, very required. But really, once you set in place vision and then empower somebody to run, it shouldn't be a lot of back and forth conversations. And if those are having to happen a lot, then you got one of two things happen. Either the senior leader really either hasn't cast vision or is just delegating, not empowered. Or you have, using the kids example, you have a kids pastor who really doesn't want to be empowered. They only understand delegation because they need constant direction on what to do.
And as a senior leader, I mean, and the seasons can change church to church as well. But are you as a senior leader often looking for someone that you can delegate or empower to?
I would 99% of the time empower.
Yeah.
Now, I also recognize there are times when I need to delegate some things because I need the responsibility to still stay with me.
Yeah.
But I need help, and that's delegation. But for the most part, at every level of leadership, I would say even to, a person who is on a team and is like, I don't oversee staff, but I have a team of volunteers. Great. How do you empower those volunteers? I think everybody on a church staff should be empowerers, people who are not looking to maintain control, and therefore, when they maintain control, they just delegate. So you just have a bunch of doers. If we're going to grow the kingdom, I look at it and go, what? Can you imagine Jesus? He's leaving, and his only rules. I mean, it's
very
like,
simple.
Very simple. So go and make disciples.
Yeah.
Baptize them.
Yeah.
Teach them what I taught you. Go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty empowering. And then they got to go and figure out how to do all this. So I just look at it and go, Jesus was an empowering leader.
Yeah.
Sure, it took time to disciple and develop.
But he gave the resources as well. He's
Yeah.
like, hey, go wait. I'm going to give you some resources. Just like,
Exactly. In a while, you're going to get the Holy Spirit's going to come and he's going to teach you and grow you in all things.
You're right.
And we have access to that today.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, that's really interesting. So it feels like I think a lot of the times people can hear empowerment and it's like, great, I'm going to be an empowering leader. So I'm just going to start passing off all this stuff.
Yeah.
And like how do you define the line between what some would call empowerment, and I don't want to say laziness, but like you were very clear in like, hey, you've got to cast vision. You've got to be clear in what the expectations are and make sure they're properly resourced. And that can mean a few things. Like you've explained to them how to do this well. They feel equipped to do it.
Yes.
They feel empowered to do it. But I think the danger in that I could see if people aren't hearing you well is like, great. And, they're calling their leaders together this Sunday. Like, all right, guys, you're all empowered.
You're empowered.
Like,
Go, run.
Yeah. And they're all like, wait, what?
Empowered to do what?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Again, like I said, there's so much. This is a whole other podcast and talk could be about empowerment. Real quick, as a leader, my leadership tank has been filled by mentors, books I've read, people who have imparted and given me input. So I can't think of anything that I would say that is unique to my own creation. Okay. And I say this to say this whole talk about empowerment. I would give a great leadership book suggestion to anybody out there, and it's called Work Rules by a guy named Laszlo Bock.
Okay.
I quote it all the time. This whole talk on empowerment I'm talking about, I got from reading that book. And in it, he talks about keys to empowerment and roadblocks to empowerment. And one of the keys, there's several keys, but one of the keys is really developing the proper systems of feedback. If I'm going to empower somebody, I can't just say, like you said, hey, you're empowered, now go. Well, because that really what I've done now is I've abdicated my authority and my leadership. by just saying, take it and go. And so when you empower, that doesn't mean abdicate. It doesn't mean you just relinquish your responsibility. No, in fact, your responsibility actually increases because you now have to properly train. You have to get feedback systems and a feedback loop. You have to understand enough what you're asking them to be empowered to do to know this simple question. I'm going to give you the trick in leadership, the main question you have to ask. When I'm leading people, it's impossible for me to know everything they know. Everything they're doing, I can't. So the main question I have to figure out is, what do you know that I need to know? And that's the trick. Because if I know everything you know, well, then I'm a micromanager or I don't need you.
Yeah.
Because we're two together. If I don't know quite what I need to know that you know, then I've really abdicated. And I just go, hey, yeah, you're empowered, go run. And I never follow back up. So having a proper system in place to know, and this is from kids ministry to every other ministry, whether it's key metrics or information that needs to go up to whatever leadership level, those leaders being able to know what's important to me to know what you're doing. So that feedback loop is important. On the other side, the roadblock really from a person who has been empowered, again, there's several, but one of the ones that comes to mind is actually an inability for that person to embrace all they've been empowered to do. So they sort of create a barrier of, I think I'm only empowered to a certain level. So I actually don't take it as far as I can. I don't embrace all that I think I should because I don't, maybe the good motivation is I don't want to break something. I don't want to do something wrong. So they actually don't go as far as they've actually been empowered to go.
Oh, wow.
And that actually ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy. They don't take as much authority as they should have, and so now they're given less authority because they didn't take as much, and then it just spirals.
It keeps spiraling.
Yeah. So the whole idea of being empowered and being able to run with that, I think when it comes to any ministry, but if I stay with kids ministry, given the scope and importance that it is from a whole demographic of the congregation, really understanding what empowerment looks like. And every leader is different. So that's, I can give my cookie cutter, here's the 3 questions, but every leader brings their own personality. And so being able to navigate what that looks like and understand that empowerment does not mean abdication.
Yeah.
Really, empowerment stands on kind of 2 legs to really stand properly. It's empowerment and proper oversight. I got to give it oversight. That's not abdication. I've got to oversee it properly. That doesn't mean I have to control it.
It's a hard line to walk.
For sure. And that's why I say this as a training. It's a whole other podcast. Because there is much to, and obviously what plays into it are personalities. Some people are more control freaks. And so that, what they think they've done to empower looks a lot different than somebody. I'm not a control freak. And so I'm more prone. You're
more trusting. So it's like, they got it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the balance I have to is to not be the person who abdicates and goes, hey, I trust you, off and go. I got to build good systems for feedback and oversight to make sure that person knows, the team knows, hey, I'm involved and I'm here. I'm just not doing your job.
Yeah. That's really good. That is a whole other podcast. That is literally like a whole other.
It truly is. Yeah. There's a lot there.
Okay. I have another question for you. That'll be the last question and we'll wrap it.
Okay.
But over different seasons of the church that we were at and that you oversaw, I think that from not a comparison, but if you just look at it and like if you position it against a lot of other different ministries or churches, there was always a not just value on the next generation, because every church values it. Like they do, it's like, hey, we value it here, but you always were willing to make sure that we put our money where our mouth was. And I really mean money. Like it was like, no, we are going to, like, what does it cost? It's worth it for the next generation.
Yes.
So let's do it.
Yes.
But what were the signs you looked for in being able to do that? Because I think sometimes, like I've talked to a couple of different kids pastors, like I love talking to kids pastors. I get to talk to them every week. And sometimes I listen to them be like, hey, it's not a poverty mindset, but there's almost this like we just can't do this, right? And I'm like, I've been on your website. You guys have 9 campuses. Like I think you can, but like they're afraid to go ask their pastor. And there's a little bit I always say we value what's visible. So like, worship ministry will get a lot of resource because,
Yeah.
hey, that's what we see on a weekend experience.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
we'll make sure that our experiences and our hallways and our stuff look great. But when it comes to being able to cast vision upwards, like leading upwards, like, hey, this is what I need. This is what I do. What do you look for when someone's coming to you to ask for that? Because you were always willing to, but it was like, what were you looking for in order to be like, yep, this is something that we definitely need to invest in?
Well, let me talk first to the senior leaders to say, if you're going to say going after the next generation is important, then you better be congruent. And what you say and what you do should match. And if what you say, which is we want to go for the next generation, but you don't put into action the resources you have in whatever proportion is necessary to do that. And again, I'm not, it's all proportionately, right?
Right.
But if you go, whatever money we have, this is going to the next generation. So you have to be congruent what you're saying and what you're doing. For kids pastors, this is another example. One of the keys to empowerment is think like an owner. If you're going to be empowered, think like an owner. Okay, so if again, could be any departmental, overseer, but let's take kids. If I go, I'm just going to go ask, but I haven't put thought to it. I haven't counted the cost. I haven't actually put a proposal together, thought through the action that's required for it. Then what I'm telling my senior leaders is I'm not a great steward. I'm just looking to have fun with the kids, or I'm just looking to see what I can get, as opposed to I'm thoughtful. I've truly counted the cost. And when I'm coming to you to ask for resources, it's come with thought, prayer. I'm prayerful to ask this, I'm bringing it, I'm submitted. And ultimately, really what you're trying to tell senior leaders is you can trust me. You can, now people are in a position of children's ministry. There's a lot of trust already there because it's a very important demographic of people, kids. But I may be really good with kids, but really bad with money. And that's going to be a problem if senior leadership is truly looking to go, no. Again, part of me goes, well, if a senior leader has already seen that they're bad with money, then you probably wouldn't put them over an area, right? So
Probably.
But I think kind of maybe to the point of your question, how do I bring that and ask my leaders for more resources or money specifically? Well, in the world of finance, it's called due diligence. Do the proper work that shows I thought about this. I've gone out and priced some things. I didn't just come to you with a budget of, hey, can we get $5,000 to do this, or $10,000 to do that, or $100,000 to do this?
Yeah.
I'm coming to you going, here's what we'd like to do, and the full cost proposal is this. We've talked to these vendors. We know it's going to cost this. And as I built this, this is what we'd like to ask for a budget, and we know we can execute on this. Here's the thing that I think basically everyone who's not the senior pastor has to embrace this idea. You are simply an executor of vision. Now, there's lots of different ways that looks, a lot of different people but I'm visionary. I love getting vision. That's great. Get vision. But it's still under one master vision.
Yep.
And so really ultimately what we all have to be good at doing is executing, making it happen. Well, a key part of execution is can I manage resources? So if one of my key questions on empowerment is, so what are my resources? Well, if I can't manage resources, probably my resources are going to be smaller and smaller and smaller because senior leaders are going to go, you can't manage it well, so we really can't give you a lot. So showing your leadership that you know how to manage resources is important.
It's like drinking from a fire hose. Like you're just like, if I'm out here right now, you have a podcast actually. So where can I listen to more of this stuff?
Well, we're just partnering with Amazing Life and launching a podcast, Amazing Leaders, that you'll find here on the platform. If you want to go back in time, we've got a podcast called Between the Lanes where we talk about leadership. You can find that on all the podcast platforms. But the Amazing Leaders podcast is coming out soon. So we're excited about it. And you can find more about the stuff that we talk about at executiveleaders.com.
Okay.
That's through ELI, Executive Leadership Institute. And our main mission is to help leaders implement their vision without losing their lives. So anyway, there's more about that. We can talk another time too. But I want to help a kids pastor implement the vision they have for kids ministry, and I can do it without stressing myself out, burning out my family because I'm stressed all the time. I don't know how to do all this kind of stuff. We want to help you do that without losing your life. So,
would you do me a favor? We don't do it all the time, but for everyone watching, would you pray us out? Would you pray over everybody here?
You bet, absolutely.
Yeah.
God, I just thank you for everyone who's listening or watching, and Lord, thank you for the calling that they've responded to. Lord, you have put a burden inside each of us to step into your kingdom and do whatever function you've called us to do. And so, Lord, I pray for a productive use of their hands. I pray for fruit in our ministries, God, that we would bear fruit for your kingdom, Jesus. We'd be connected to you, and Lord, in all the ways that we need to grow and develop as leaders, all of us do. I pray that today this conversation would have encouraged somebody, maybe inspired somebody, maybe challenged somebody. And beyond everything we've talked about, that by the work of your Spirit, you would speak the words, what's needed, a solution they're looking to find, a question they don't have an answer to. You'd bring it today. And that, Lord, what we would do is we'd find ourselves growing as leaders in whatever place that we lead. We'd be growing in just the next level, the next step that you have for us. And so I pray blessing over all of those who are watching and listening today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.